If momentum keeps collapsing for you, it's not because you lack discipline. If progress feels fragile, like it disappears the moment life gets busy, it's not because you're inconsistent. And if every burst of motivation eventually ends in burnout or avoidance, it's not because you're broken. Stay with me to the end of this video because what I'm about to explain will completely change how you think about productivity, effort, and why doing more keeps failing you. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people never hear. Momentum isn't something you force, and it isn't something you sustain with willpower. Momentum is something your nervous system either allows or blocks, and until you build it safely, you will keep rebuilding from zero. Most people think momentum looks like this. You feel motivated, you work harder, you get results, you repeat. But that's not momentum, that's adrenaline. And adrenaline is not repeatable. This is what fragile momentum actually looks like in real life. You have a good week, you finally feel productive, you catch up, then pressure spikes, life interrupts, energy drops, and suddenly, nothing. The wheels come off, confidence dips, and you start questioning yourself again. That cycle isn't random, it's biological. Because what most people call momentum is actually a stress response. When pressure rises, your brain releases chemicals that temporarily increase focus and urgency. You feel driven, alert, locked in. But that state is designed for short-term survival, not long-term progress. Your system can't live there, so eventually it shuts you down. This is why just push through works until it doesn't, and why motivation is such a terrible strategy. For years, this was my pattern. I could work intensely, I could grind, I could push through discomfort. But I couldn't make momentum stick. Every win came with a cost, every sprint ended in exhaustion, every reset felt heavier than the last, and the more I tried to control it with planning, discipline, or mindset, the worse it got. Because I was trying to override my nervous system, not work with it. That's when I realised something critical. If momentum requires pressure to exist, it will collapse the moment pressure becomes too high, and that's not sustainable. Real momentum is not speed. Real momentum is capacity. It's the ability to start without resistance, to continue without forcing, to stop without guilt, to restart without drama. That only happens when your nervous system feels safe enough to engage. This is the foundation of the momentum reset method. Instead of asking, how do I do more? We ask, how do I reduce the internal friction that makes action feel unsafe? Because your brain has one primary job. It wants to protect you. If it perceives threats, even subtle threat, it will block action, not consciously, automatically. Now, threat doesn't have to mean danger. It can mean emotional pressure, fear of failure, unresolved obligations, unrealistic expectations, cognitive overload. Your brain doesn't care if the threat is real. It only cares if it feels real. This is where most productivity advice collapses. It assumes clarity comes first, that you decide, then act. But in reality, clarity is a result of regulation. When your nervous system is activated, decisions feel heavy, focus fragments, everything feels urgent, avoidance increases. You don't need better priorities, you need lower pressure. The momentum reset method starts here, not with goals, not with plans, with state. To build momentum safely and repeatably, 3 conditions need to exist. 1, low internal threat. Your system must believe starting won't overwhelm you. 2, clear entry point. Your brain needs a defined, non-ambiguous place to begin. And 3, permission to stop. Momentum dies when stopping feels dangerous. Most people violate all 3. They start too big, expect too much, and punish themselves for slowing down. That's not motivation, that's coercion. The momentum reset does 3 things. It calms the nervous system. It reduces mental load. It creates a safe starting point, not theoretically, physiologically. When pressure drops, resistance drops, clarity increases, action feels accessible. This is why momentum suddenly feels effortless, not because you changed who you are, but because your brain is no longer blocking you. Here's how you know you're building momentum safely. You don't need to psych yourself up. You don't need to wait for motivation. You don't need perfect conditions. You start calmly, you continue steadily, you stop intentionally, and when you come back, there's no dread. This is the shift most people are craving but can't name. Work stops feeling like pressure, progress stops feeling fragile, and consistency stops being a personality trait. It becomes a byproduct. This is how momentum becomes repeatable, even on bad days, even when life is noisy, even when energy is low. This is also where identity changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles with discipline, needs pressure to perform, can't stay consistent, and start seeing yourself as someone who moves forward deliberately, regulates before reacting, builds progress without panic. That identity is stable because it's rooted in how your brain actually works. If you want to begin today, start here. Don't ask, what should I do? Ask, what would feel safe enough to start? Make it smaller than your ego wants, clearer than your anxiety expects, and optional to stop. Then, and this matters, notice what happens. Not how much you do, but how your body responds. Momentum lives there. Momentum is not something you summon. It's something you allow. And when you build it safely, it stops disappearing. If this video resonated, I want you to subscribe to the channel for more content on building momentum without burnout or hustle. And if you've been stuck in start-stop cycles, leave a comment. You're not failing. You're just trying to build momentum in a way your nervous system can sustain. That can change. And finally, if you want to check out the full momentum reset method, there's a link in the description below. We'd love to have you join us.